Alright, good morning YouTube. So we're back again today, and before we get started with today's video, I wanted to thank you all for helping us hit 150 subs. We're halfway there to the 300 sub giveaway for some promo packs. So if you would like to be entered in the giveaway for these bad boys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, wanted to announce that we are launching a Patreon. So if you'd like to help support the channel further and make YouTube a career for me, there are details on how you can help support that in the description down below. But today we have a super special video. This is one of the videos designed to help make you guys better, like everybody else that is in the community a better player. So this is designed for you guys. So this is the Jing series. Now, what are the Jings, you ask? Boomy, in the episode Return to Omashu in Avatar The Last Airbender, describes the Jings as, there are options in fighting called Jing. It is a choice of how you direct your energy. So, in the Digimon TCG, there are three main Jings. Positive Jing, negative Jing, and neutral Jing. Today we're going to be focusing on positive Jing. Now, positive Jing is the aspect when you are on the offense. It is the art of optimizing your push and making sure that you are getting the most out of your offense as possible and giving your opponent the least amount of chance to come back. So, I wanted to shout out a couple Pokemon players here. So, Wolfie, the 2016 world champion for the Pokemon video game series, and Aaron Zheng, who has been making YouTube content forever on Pokemon. They taught me a lot of mindsets, or a lot of things just keep in the back of my mind while I'm playing competitive games that always keep me in the driver's seat. So, playing Pokemon taught me to ask what could possibly go wrong at every given moment during a game. Because there is a chance that something could go wrong. You could hit a Gaia Force Insecurity, you could lose the game off that. In Pokemon, there's a 7% chance to get a critical hit. And when Aaron Zheng is playing Pokemon and he loses the game because of 7% chance of a critical hit, he doesn't say, man, the odds were bad, I lost the game because of bad odds. He asks, what could I have done so that there wasn't even a 7% chance that my opponent could have won the game? And I think that mindset is very important, and that embodies positive Jing to a T. So we're going to get into that. Links to these guys' channels are going to be in the description as well. If you guys are interested in watching Pokemon VGC content, these guys are some of the premier people to go watch. So when you have the advantage, there's a couple things to consider. You don't want to just throw your Digimon at security. It's just, there's a lot of things that could happen. You don't want to just attack all willy-nilly. You want to consider a couple of things. The number one thing is probably what deck are they playing and what cards do they have access to in that specific deck. Like, if I see that they're playing purple and I have my Omnimon and they have a rookie in the breeding area on top of a level 2 that they can promote next turn, I don't necessarily want to leave them with more than one memory and have my Omnimon suspended, because they could just evolve into a Devimon and then swing into my Omnimon with Retaliation. So it's specific things in the matchup that you have to consider. Sure, you could have the advantage, but if you give them enough memory to do things that are specific in their deck that can put them back in the game, they're going to get back in the game. Like, the entire point of positive Jing is to keep putting pressure on, but make sure that you aren't giving them the chance to come back into the game. So another big one is, how much memory should I be giving them? You don't necessarily always have to be memory choking them. Like I said in that example, you want to give them, 1 memory so that they can't evolve into Devimon and attack. Sometimes, if you're playing against Red, for example, you can give them like 4 memory if they have, just a rookie in the breeding area, because they can't get it all the way up to an Omnimon, and you know that the Omnimon's the only thing that can beat you. In green, it's the option, if you have a couple cards in your hand and, you only have the option to give them a bunch of memory, it doesn't really matter if you're giving them 5 versus giving them 8, because it's green. They can do whatever they want with 5 memory, and they can also do whatever they want with 8 memory. It doesn't really matter at that point. So it's matchup specific. You want to keep a lot of things in mind whenever you're pushing the offense, because you want to make sure that your opponent can't come back into the game. Another point I have on this slide is, what card should I be holding on to? So if you have something like, let's say, Volcanic Dramon in your hand, and you're playing against purple, for instance, you don't want to just drop Volcanic Dramon when you're only going to be destroying 1 Digimon. You want to hold on to it. If you're drop it whenever you're going to kill 2+. There are cards that you can be playing in your deck that you can see that your opponent is playing a specific deck against you and go, man, this is really good in this matchup. I need to optimize this card. Identifying your win conditions is a very important part of optimizing positive Jing. So you can play a deck of 50 cards and have a lot of them, focus towards 1 win condition. You play Omnimon Turbo, a lot of them focus towards building up that Omnimon. But, sometimes you gotta recognize when your Metal Tyrannomon is giving you the most value. You gotta recognize when your Volcanic Dramon is giving you the most value. You have to recognize your win conditions as you see them and hold the advantage. Your objective should be to hold the advantage. So the last point I have on this slide is, what cards could be in their security. So if you have a bunch of Digimon on field and you're playing against green, and you're going, man, I'm about to win the game. I really hope I don't hit a Flower Cannon. And you hit a Flower Cannon and every single Digimon on your side of the field suspends, and you lose the game because of that, that's on you. They're playing green. They always have the option to have Flower Cannon in your security. What you should do is maybe evolve something into a blocker first. Make it so that not everything on your side of the field suspends, and you can at least have defense whenever they try to push back against you. So positive Jing isn't always just putting the foot on the gas pedal and making sure that you're always pushing. It's being smart about how you're putting aggression on. Even if you have the option to take out 4 security in 1 turn, maybe it's smarter to just take out 1 security and put yourself in a position where you're taking care of threats on your opponent's board, or just taking care of bodies on your opponent's board so they can't evolve up into threats. So you always have to consider the specific situation. How does my deck match up against theirs? How should I be, or what card should I be saving against specific cards that they have? How much memory should I be giving them so that I can choke them out of the key plays that would put me at a disadvantage? How can I optimize my swings into security so that even if I do hit something like a Gaia Force, even if I do hit a Hammer Spark, I'm not going to lose the game because I got screwed out of a lucky security swing. So these are all important points to consider. So another point that I want to bring up is, by paying attention to how your opponent is playing the game, you can make it so that you are always going to be holding the advantage. So let me give you an example. So I see my opponent, and they start their opening turn. They're playing Red Omni, and they evolve their rookie in the raising area. Like, they evolve their baby into a rookie, and then I see them drop a 2-drop vanilla rookie as their opening play. I can assume that they did not open the Dark Tyrannomon, because the optimal play would be to evolve that rookie into a Dark Tyrannomon, leave the opponent with 1 memory, and draw the card. That's the optimal play. So by playing the 2-drop vanilla, I can just assume that they don't have that card. And by little things that your opponent is doing as they're playing the game, you can pick up on key bits of information. If I see them going wide with a bunch of level 4s, I can assume that they don't have a level 5. They might have a couple level 6s in their hand that I need to fear, and if they draw a level 5, I might be in trouble. But until then, I don't have to worry. They could be missing levels, they could be missing key cards. Maybe you hard played a Tidamon on one of the early turns of the game, and your opponent is playing a bunch of level 6s that have like 11,000 power, and your opponent has no way to get around the Tidamon. And they could just be fishing for a way around that card. So they could be missing key levels, they could be missing key cards. So when you have the advantage, noticing these things are very important, because at any point the opponent could draw these cards and things could shift immensely. While you're focused on positive Jing, your goal should not be to win. Your goal should be to maintain the advantage. So you noticing on them missing their key cards, them missing out on certain levels, if you can keep them in a game state where they're on the back foot, where they're constantly resorting to negative Jing, they aren't going to win the game. So you can beat them in the war of attrition. If you have like 4 dudes in play, and you swing all of them into security, right? And you're playing against green, and they have the Mimi, and they start their turn with 3 memory, and they get something out, and they dimension scissor you and take out your board. What do? You just lost your entire board because you overextended. The goal is to not take the bait, to keep the advantage, not to win immediately. Know how much memory they need to make their plays. Lock them out of their key cards. Lock them out of their key levels. If you see them and you see that they're fishing, don't give them enough resources to dig. You don't want to do that. If you see that they have a level 6 that can start swinging over your dudes, don't give them the opportunity to do that. Poke with everything else. Your goal should be to maintain the advantage, and if you maintain the advantage for long enough, you will win. That is how card games work. That is how all video games work. You don't have to go for the flashy plays. If you watch a Smash Bros. Tournament, you don't see every single pro player going for dunks every stock. It just doesn't happen. The longer that you can put out positive Jing, the better the chance you have of winning. The most important thing to keep in mind to make sure that you are putting positive Jing out for the longest period of time possible is to not overextend. So, pay attention to their board. Don't get cheesed. You overextend, you do that. If you swing out with everything, they dimension scissor you, they clear your board, you lose. You swing out with everything, they puppet mon you, everything stays suspended, you don't get a chance to come back into the game, they get to build back up, you lose. If you swing into a flower cannon without putting a blocker out, you lose. You have 1 memory, and you have a bunch of dudes that are trying to attack, and you're playing against blue, and you swing and you hit a hammer spark, and the next turn they Omnimon your board away, you lose. Like, there are so many ways that your opponent can come back into the game based on luck of the draw. And your goal as a player should be to try to keep these things in mind and figure out how to minimize the chance of those happening to you. When you can do that, you will transform yourself from a great player into an amazing player. So those are a bunch of points that I wanted to give to you guys to make sure that you are not overextending, that you are keeping up with positive Jing. Boomy was a wise man. Just take his word. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. We have details on the Patreon, and we're going to be doing the neutral Jing and the negative Jing here soon, so stick around for that.